Video number 2.
Although it is an omnivore, being able to hunt meat and forage for plant matter, trimmings are almost entirely scavengers. Their diet consists of rotting plants and meat, including, but not limited to, fruits, vegetables, roots, seeds, insects, and deceased animals. Although its appearance is unsightly, it is a cowardly creature, only fleeing, screeching, and hiding when threatened. Because of its lack of defensive traits, it lies near the bottom of the food chain, making it easily overpowered and picked off very regularly by predators. Naturally, its population would eventually die out, but this is not the case.
Once again,
Mattress matcher and find your perfect match.
don't
Constantly produces a large quantity
Don't.
of trimming notes, keeping up their
remember from the last tape.
Naturally, trimmings can be
The
found
Foundation
wherever
have
there is
been hiding as an army for years.
Trimmings
And don't
grow
mind the
at a decent
background
pace,
at all.
reaching
Don't mind the
maturity
other
around 7
voices.
months, having a maximum lifespan of 2 to 4 years.
Just focus on my voice
Although they
and
are plentiful, humanity
the
has no
video.
proper way to implement trimmings into society. Their overabundance has even considered them pests, due to them digging through trash bins and making excessive noise at night. Besides all of this, some people still keep trimmings as pets and relatively domesticate them. Nuisance or not, trimmings are a wondrous creature. From their plentiful numbers to their skittish nature, they are truly a thing to behold. The next species on our list is the meat snake.
These are super important.
The meat snake is a worm-like creature made of a variety of types of meat, coated in a transparent, skin-like membrane. Its size varies during its lifespan, depending on how much it consumes. When it first separates from the crawl, it is only a few centimeters in length. Eventually, it will reach an average length of 5 meters. Although, under extreme conditions, like natural disasters, war, or plague, it can greatly surpass this length. The meat snake's diet consists entirely of dead animals or parts. A meat snake is incapable of consuming a healthy, living organism. The meat snake locates its food by using a tongue-like organ covered in sensors to touch and feel its environment. The sensors catch particles of decaying meat, notifying the meat snake that there is food nearby. This process shares many similarities to regular snakes, hence the meat snake's name. Once it locates the corpse, the meat snake will open its jaw and swallow the entire body whole. Once the entire body is consumed, the meat snake's stomach will release a variety of chemicals. Some will break down soft tissue like skin and the connection points between muscles. Others chemicals will then ferment and preserve the tissue to keep it from breaking down for as long as possible. After that, the remaining flesh and bones will move along the meat snake's tract and slowly be implemented into its own structure, extending the meat snake. Unsatisfactory parts like skulls, pelvises, hair, and fingernails will be excreted. Speaking of skulls, the meat snake will take the skull from the consumed organism and use it as its own. Each meat snake has its own skull, each corresponding to what that one has consumed. During its lifespan, it will swap or replace these skulls if needed. A meat snake's lifespan depends entirely on how much a meat snake consumes. The longest one has lived for was 28 years. The meat snake has no predators and is immune to disease due to its preserving chemicals. The only significant ways a meat snake can die is through starvation, burning, or complete destruction of the meat snake's membrane.
Remember this.
Interestingly, the meat snake is the only member of the Carnies family that is able to reproduce. When a meat snake reaches an excessive size, and is in the conditions to do so, it will commence mitosis, splitting itself in two. Then the now two meat snakes will go on their separate ways and live on as two distinct organisms. Meat snakes can only be found in moderate temperature climates, not too hot, not too cold. Their population depends entirely on the amount of corpses available. Where there is death, there are meat snakes.
Remember it.
Humanity will use them to our advantage. Meat snakes are a very efficient and clean way of disposing of any meat products. The preserving fluid within the meat snake's body disinfects the carrion, preventing the spread of disease. Humans use meat snakes in butcher shops as a waste bin, dispose roadkill, within war on the battlefield to dispose of festering bodies and parts, and within zoos to dispose of deceased animals. They are extremely tame, not caring if any creature is around them, only acting defensively when it is within consuming a meal. This means they are very easy to tame.
We're not taming
Overall,
these things,
meat
we're
snakes are a
destroying.
marvelous creature with a
Remember,
very interesting way of sustaining itself. It is an amazing experience to encounter one, as long as you don't mind the smell.
you will murder it.
Our next creature is the mimic.
Yep. Make sure you murder to make
The
me.
mimic. The mimic is a bipedal
Super
creature with uncanny
dangerous.
similarities to humanoid anatomy. They greatly resemble humans without skin, without an exaggerated features. These features include extended finger length, longer limbs, bulging, empty eyes, and their most prominent feature, a wide, teeth-filled smile. Although it resembles a happy face, this is due to coincidence, and is only how their facial structure is shaped. The maw of the mimic contains much more teeth than humans, and their teeth is comprised almost entirely of incisors, with some canine and premolars in the back. This tooth composition is ideal for biting down on the meat and swallowing chunks whole. A mature mimic's diet is comprised entirely of human flesh.
It doesn't look like that. It's more ugly and it doesn't have any. Wait, why is the recording stop?
Because of this, they are found
There.
solely around human-populated areas. The mimic's life cycle is made of 3 stages. In the first stage, a young mimic separates from the crawl. They closely resemble their trimming relatives, but are thin, sleek, and only have 4 appendages. In this stage, the young mimic will hunt small animals, moving on to larger and larger as they grow. Once large enough, it will begin metamorphosis into the next stage of life. Once fully transformed, it will resemble the description mentioned in the beginning. Its hunting style changes and becomes much more complicated. It now stalks and feeds only on humans. It will locate human-populated area and begin its search for an easy target. To blend in, it may use objects to conceal itself. These include clothing, mannequins, and furniture. Once a target has been found, the mimic will observe its prey and learn its routine and when it is most vulnerable. This is typically when the human is asleep at night. Once the prey is within position, the mimic will advance silently until it is close enough. The mimic will then execute and immediately begin consumption. Once the mimic has had its fill, it will leave the scene, a fair distance away from the human population, and begin to digest its meal. Although, in the case that a human is awake, a mimic will use a variety of sounds to either lure or startle prey into cornering themselves. Once a human is in place, it will swiftly attack and kill the helpless target.
Something is wrong. Something is wrong. This is not supposed to be playing. Sorry about this. Turn. You don't understand what's on. Let's we gonna do the next one. Turn off the goddamn flashlight, you stupid. Sorry about that. The stop downstairs.
The next stage of the mimic's life cycle has two potential morphs it may develop into. If a mimic has a consistent supply of food, it will develop more human-like features. It will grow skin, hair, and by the end will look nearly identical to a human being. It now can blend entirely into civilization and lure other humans more effectively. The second type of morph happens when a mimic receives an overabundance of food. It will grow into a larger, more evolved hunter. Its proportions will increase in length, and its humanoid features will fade away. It grows a thick, dark coating of a flexible skin,
Remember,
which is highly
these
durable
are
and increases in strength the more
these
the
are
elder
that's
mimic
novels. It's starting to make me when he
This
sees
includes the
things.
face, which is now coated in a pale pink skin. The mimic's teeth have also moved deeper into the mimic's throat, leaving its mouth a toothless grin. It uses the dark hue of its skin to hide seamlessly within a dark environment. Its skills have also been heightened. This makes an elder mimic one of the most efficient predators on the planet. Because of the obvious threat this poses on humanity, nations around the world have released instructions on how to be able to fend for yourself in a mimic encounter. Here are the instructions.
1. Avoid going out alone if your location is known to have mimics, or there have been mimic sightings. 2. If you encounter a stationary mimic, seemingly unfazed by your presence, quietly leave the location and alert your local authorities. 3. If pursued by a mimic, get yourself into a position where you are able to flee. Mimics will rarely attack if a person has a clear escape route. 4. In the event that you have been cornered by a mimic, roll into the fetal position, protecting your neck, face, and vital organs from attack. Make as much noise as you can to alert any other people. 5. If you have a weapon, do not